I do feel like Port at the moment. You do sound a little bit like a manic depressive, so
Yeah,
I'm
so,
definitely
well,
not.
yeah, and of course, like as we're doing this, I'm like, why is my garage blowing up? And it's my son that I love is doing something in the garage. I'm like, can you please be quiet?
You're obviously going to miss your son Davis. We should play him this recording as like this
Yes,
is how your
we
dad
should.
feels about
We
you
should.
leaving.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
But I actually think that's an interesting question. So, Chris, what advice, given you've been in tech for so long, would you tell your son to focus on, given all the changes in the industry with the AI stuff?
yeah, that's a great question. Hello, and welcome to Not a Podcast. Today, Steve and I are super excited to have the Chief Customer Officer from Silverfort, a hypergrowth unicorn security software company that's absolutely blowing up. So go check it out. But Michelle, thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me. Good to be back with you guys. See you again.
Well, maybe we'll start with super simple, like just talk to us about who you are, not necessarily business and your career. We'll get to that because it's super important, but just more, who's Michelle Wideman?
So I'm guessing by that you also have children, given the background.
Yeah, those are actually my real humans that came out of my belly. So, yes, I am a mom first and foremost. I have four children that I like to remind a lot of people have seen their faces behind my screen on Zoom and webinars. They're now scary looking teenagers and not the cute little infants that you have see behind me. But I do have four kids. I have triplets that are 13, and then I have a 15-year-old who is a sophomore in high school. So originally from Cincinnati, Ohio, and really lucky to grow up in a family that was really supportive of women. And my grandmother was a strong female influence, and my mother was a strong female influence, and kind of was raised to believe I could accomplish anything in the world, which is the same belief system that I try to incur with my kids. So we'll see what happens there.
That's awesome. And enjoy it. I will be honest. I'm a little melancholy. I'm spending the last few days with my son before he heads off to. Steve's already in the throes of this with Marianne, but yeah, it's kind of weird. So I will have no kids in the house in literally 8 days, which is a really weird feeling.
The saying is true. Sometimes the days last forever, but the
Yeah.
years fly by. So I feel you. I'm freaking out with my oldest in high school. I feel like time is going to be gone so quickly, and to try to cherish every minute. So good luck over your next few weeks and with moving. Bend with the knees.
Yes. So, I've known you for a while. I think both of us have, and so have seen aspects of your career, but would love to hear about your career, your progression, and ultimately the skills you picked up that along the way that really prepared you for this moment. As it's obviously you're now well deep into multiple chief customer success officer roles, but what's kind of prepared you for this moment and where you're at with Silverfort?
I think a lot of it is just innate DNA. I am a curious human who likes to solve problems and ask a lot of questions to really try to understand why and how things work. So I kind of fell into technology. I've been in software for over 25 years now. Originally, I wanted to be Katie Couric on the Today Show, and I interned at CNN in college and hated it because I'm a big fan of working with good humans, and I just didn't like some of the egos that were involved at CNN and how they treated employees. So when I was looking at other options, my aunt was in software and said, how do you feel about taking on a renewals job at Embarcadero Technologies? And I said, how much does it pay? And it was significantly more than the producing jobs I was looking at in North Dakota and Iowa and Idaho and places I had never heard of. So ended up graduating from Elon University, drove from North Carolina to San Francisco the next day, started my career in renewals. Then bumped into, like an inside sales rep job, then bumped into an outside sales rep job, then bumped into sales leadership, and just kind of kept progressing up the career that way until I remember one day, what was it, January or so of, I think, 2018 or 2019, this guy named Chris Port called me and said, "Hey, I want to talk to you." And I was like, "Am I in trouble?" And, that's when you offered me my first job in Success. And candidly didn't know a lot about it and did some research on it. And that point in time really thought I still wanted to be a CEO at some point in time in my career. I think I've decided I don't want to be a CEO anymore in my career. I know, shocker. I'll leave that to you too. But ended up in Success and really found my home in Success. I really enjoy looking at the entire customer journey and how all the different components of the business impact the customer's journey, as far as how easy are we as a company to do business with? What does our buying process look like? How productive is our tool? What value are you getting out of our tool? How is our tech support team working? So it's not just, I want to go sell somebody something and walk away. It's really looking at the holistic customer journey and ensuring that customers are getting value from a solution, and really fell in love with that versus just focusing on the sales side of things.
Well, actually, do you see that as a thing? Like, you obviously hire a lot of customer success people. Do you see that as a must-have? Has worked in different parts of the business, or do you look for career CSMs?
Yeah.
Like, does that influence your decision?
I think the most successful teams I have built out are the cross-functional teams, where I've had some people that have come over from tech support. I've had some folks come over from product management, some people from sales, some people that grew up in customer success. And some of my favorite folks to hire are actually customers, because they really understand the customer journey and the value you can get from a product, more so than anybody else, and how to communicate that and give you real feedback on how's your product documentation and what does that look like, and if we're going to send this messaging out, does that resonate with you? And they provide some really valuable insights.
Which is a good point. If you hire a customer, that's going to be one of the most empathetic CSMs in the world. No, I've lived it, guys. I know exactly what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
So that's a bit about your career. So what about, talk a little bit about success and how it's evolving. You've obviously seen it change. You've been in it for a little bit, but how are you seeing things evolving now at the moment, particularly with all the stuff that's going on with AI? What's happening out there?
So regarding AI, I think a lot of companies are taking a lot of different perspectives of it. Some companies are more hesitant to lean into it. I'm really excited and happy to be at Silverfort because we're really leaning into it. We're using it in a lot of different ways. I think a lot of companies have used Clary for a while for more accurate forecasting. We're using that here, and that's super helpful from a workload perspective and assigning, CSMs to new deals and getting better projections about when deals are going to close and how many accounts can a CSM handle onboarding at the same time. From a CS perspective, we use Gong a lot. That's integrated into PlanHat, which is our customer success platform that we use. It's also integrated into Salesforce. That has been a huge time saver for a lot of the CSMs. The call summaries, they'll automatically push those out into Slack accounts for the customers. So we have a holistic view for anybody in Slack. We're a big Slack company as to where we are with a customer and what's going on. So everybody has that same level of visibility, which is really helpful. We just purchased and are currently implementing Staircase AI, which is a similar mentality to Clary, but more for the success team. So while Clary provides a very accurate forecast call projection, Staircase AI should give us a much more holistic customer sentiment, because it's injecting and analyzing sentiment from emails, Zendesk, which is what we use for our support tickets, the Gong calls as well, and then any Jira tickets that are out there too. So we're really bullish about that. It'll also give us better insights into where we have relationships within an account and the strength of those relationships as well. I think one of the biggest mistakes that success humans can make is we get too single-threaded within an account, and we think just because our champion thinks the world of us, somebody's going to renew, but a lot of those renewal decisions are made at a C-level. So we need to make sure that we have strong relationships with more than one human within these customer accounts.
That's fair. Do you use Agent Force or anything like that? Do you use any agent stuff at all, actually?
We don't yet. We use a lot of the chat GPT agents internally to ask specific questions, and we're doing a lot with that we're doing a lot of new product releases right now, so you can go in and ask more questions on that, and getting really good feedback when Success is on the phone with a customer and they ask a question about a new version or tool that way, but we haven't released anything externally facing yet. We still think we need to strengthen our AI capabilities before that actually gets exposed.
Well, maybe like so like on that product piece where you're leveraging different things. Like, what is that? How does Silverfort? Because to me, this is always one of those. Just it seems to be across all success teams is the product success relationship. So how do you manage through that as Silverfort? Like, what are some of your learnings? How do you kind of drive that so that, because I always feel strongly success is like right there. They hear and see everything about the customer, but product rarely has any open bandwidth. So it's always this conundrum of how do we drive some of that feedback into a roadmap.
And obviously, you've worked with some of the best product management leadership.
Oh, of course.
With no egos.
Yeah,
it was awesome. We made it easy for you. So how is it like in the real world,
Well, Steve was a good first foray into that, because I agree with you, Port. Selfishly, I think Success is one of the most cross-functional teams out there, because we do interact so closely with all the different lines of business, because it goes back into that holistic customer experience. Product is one of those key relationships. I mean, our SVP of product and I have probably one of the strongest relationships on the executive team. Part of the reason why I really joined Silverfort was when I was talking to all the executives here, every executive, even engineering and our CTO, was like, I want to participate and I want to talk to customers, which has not always been the case at every company I've had this role in, and it makes a huge difference when you get that commitment from the product team. That's part of the reason why I think we use Slack so much, is the PMs will actually go through and they'll peruse those accounts. We have a Slack channel for pretty much every account. We also just recently launched a customer community, and part of the reason for that as well is products that, hey, I want to talk to more people, I want to run more surveys, I want to get more direct feedback, and that's really empowered us to give them more direct access to customers, because I also don't want Success to be that bottleneck. I want to empower them with all these different vehicles so they have direct access to the customers as well.
That's great. And maybe like kind of like on the success thread as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, we read a lot, and to me, a lot of LinkedIn posts and some of these influencers, it feels. I mean, success is under a lot of pressure today.
Yeah.
There's just no other way to put it. Some people are like, this is kind of an extinction event, like whether it be AI, whether it be just you're seeing, particularly in a lot of legacy software, what I'll call legacy, maybe older than 10 years, older than 5 years. There's just a lot of pressure. Gross churn is up, net churn is down. Just a lot of the things that success is metriced on aren't going well for those companies. So therefore, it feels like the immediate reaction is like, well, clearly we just should downsize Success because it's not working. What are your thoughts on Success in the next 5 years and where it's heading?
Yeah, that really resonates with me as well. And I definitely feel like I have a mama bear instinct, where I told my team, and actually did this kind of like presentation to them at sales kickoff 2 years ago, where regardless if you want it or not, I feel like I am accountable for your employment. So we are definitely going to put more measures in place where I can quantify the value that Success is providing. Because I do feel like when you look at LinkedIn, when a company does a RIF, the first people to go are the recruiters and the Success people. So I want to make sure that we're doing all the things right. So, God forbid Silverfort's ever in that position. And since this is being recorded, we're doing really, really well in a rocket ship. And thankfully, we've never had those conversations
there
here.
There are no problems at Silverfort.
Exactly. We're perfect. Thank you very much. But A lot of what I've built out in my tenure here has been to really showcase the value of success. And part of that is, depending upon the size and the stage of a company, we were giving success and support away for free when I joined. So we now have a premium and a diamond support and success offering. So you are paying for these things, and we're not doing implementations for free.
Oh, hold on, interesting. So hold on, yeah, because normally that's associated with support functions. You've actually created a paid success function.
We have, and we're getting
Okay.
ready to lean into it more, where we're going to break out our onboarding experience and start to charge for that as well, because we're having more customers that want more from us, which is a human cost. So we need to collect money for that. The SIs and the GSIs wouldn't be doing this for free, and there's a lot of value in this, so we need to charge, for that as well.
And do you do things like success qualified leads and all that kind of good stuff, or is that something
Yeah,
else?
exactly. That's where I was headed next. So
Oh,
that
yeah.
was something we launched at the beginning of this year. And I am happy to announce that as of this week, we are the largest pipeline generating engine for upsell opportunities in the company, which is very exciting to see go
Nice.
from zero to where we are today. So all of these things is really helpful to take to the board and say, I'm not just a cost center. We're generating support and success revenue, and we're generating upsell revenue. And look at our, Gartner peer reviews, which right now are around a 4.8, 4.9 rating. So we're doing all the right things. And our CSAT, I'm grateful and lucky for my support team. They are incredible. They typically run at a 98, 99% customer satisfaction rating, which is definitely expressed and exposed in our Gartner peer reviews, because people just rave about the support that we really provide. And I think that's a cultural thing too, to really hire, before, when you're asking what are the type of humans that you look at for hiring for success, it's for support too. Like you genuinely need to care and want to do the right outcome for people versus, just come in and close the support ticket as quickly as possible.
So how did you, because obviously that's a lot of revenue generating for success. I mean, how did you make sure that you're not, becoming effectively salespeople, or like
Yeah.
keeping that trusted partnership with the customer? Do you feel that that's been sacrificed at all, or how do you think about that? Just
I don't. The way that I look at it is, I don't want the success team talking about pricing at all or negotiating any contractual language. So the way that we've set it up here, and we're at a really interesting point in our journey where we're moving from a single point solution to a multi-product platform. And the success people have the tightest relationships right now at the company. And part of that is based on the support and the success offerings that we've set up specifically around our strategic and our enterprise customers. Because our strategic customers, when they're buying that diamond level of service, they're having weekly phone calls with the customer success managers. And we're putting more into that as well to lean into it more. So we're getting ready to launch a maturity assessment model, so we can go in here and try to even, help that upsell, cross-sell journey.
Actually, it's interesting you say that, because you're reminding me of like a financial services person. It's like, if you
Yeah.
go to the free financial advisor, they're just going to try to sell you products. But
Yeah.
if you're going for the paid financial advisor, then they're actually legitimately trying to help you. That's what they
Yeah.
need. They're paid to be there. So that's interesting. So I guess that's a really interesting incentive for them. It's like, no, you are literally paid to help them. So give them that diamond level of service. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have a ton of $8,000 customers as well. So we're trying to optimize our digital touch experience too, where we have a customer portal that we're spending a lot of time in there, walking through more of a checklist of items that could walk the customers through a similar maturity model, just with not as much, hands-on experience.
Interesting. And then how do you think about, as this evolves, because I know that's like a challenge we've seen, and we certainly saw it at Boomi, but
Yeah.
is that like, okay, but we can't have 58 people show up to a call and like a lot of salespeople trying to constantly, if we're going to be the trusted advisor and throw you leads, there's got to be that trust. How do you manage through that with the sales team so that the customer doesn't feel like, to some degree, they're in a washing machine of like, okay, like why are
Yeah.
15 people showing up to these calls now?
So success creates the success qualified lead. We then set up a call with the salesperson to either introduce or reintroduce the salesperson if they haven't talked to them in a while, because historically the sales team hasn't had anything more to sell these customers. So it would be like, hey Chris, wanted to reintroduce you to XYZ customer. They are now interested in, if you don't remember, they're currently using us for MFA and service accounts, but they're interested in adding, just-in-time access as well. So wanted to get you with them so you can help re-engage and set up a demo and a POC kind of thing. So we have lots of dashboards in place that track this process. We have SLAs in place, which mimic the ones that the sales team has in place with the BDRs and the partner channels, because we want to keep it as simple, stupid for the sales reps as possible. So it mimics the same cycle of motions we have in place. On their Salesforce dashboard as well, the bottom component of that has all of their leads that they've gotten, and those lead source could be a product qualified lead, it could be a success qualified lead, it could be a sales qualified lead. So that way we're trying to give the sales leadership the visibility they need to either in their one-on-ones with the reps or in their team meetings to review the number of outstanding leads that haven't been followed up on to hold the reps accountable. Because again, this is a new muscle for the reps. They're not used to having new products to sell. So it's going to take a little bit of time to get them to re-engage and focus on these accounts. And we're actually looking at, do we move to like a hunter-farmer model next year as well? Because right now we don't have that in place. We just have a sales rep team.
Actually, hold on. I feel like I need to ask this question. What's your favorite customer story? What's something you tell CSMs when you're, I don't know, kind of recounting the, what it's like to be a success manager? Do you have like a go-to customer story that you talk about?
It's funny. I still have more of a go-to sales story from my sales days than I do my success days. I like the customers that were ready to walk away and that just hated you more than anything. And then you really engage and you show them a little TLC and they just totally come around to being ready to churn, to moving into a design partner with you and really seeing and adding value, or getting on stage at a trade show or a webinar and being a reference for you. I think anytime you can take this person was ready to walk away from me to your best and renowned champion, that's a pretty good success story. Or getting people promoted, that's one of my favorite things to do as well.
What, like a customer getting a promotion?
Oh, totally. Because the project goes well. Yeah, those are my favorite stories.
Before you recruit them out and then give them a...
Before I recruit them to come work for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do y'all like promote those types of successes? I know that was like a marketing campaign.
Yeah.
I think at one point I saw from a company, which was, we get our customers promoted. I was like, that's kind of brilliant. So
we haven't done a lot of that externally. We should do more of that. What we're trying to really focus on internally right now is, I know, Steve, you have a lot of experience with this. Anytime you release a new product, there are certain salespeople that are less willing to go out and sell those new products. So we're doing a lot to really focus on the wins we're getting in these new products that we're launching, hoping to instill FOMO within the org to get everybody on board and stop saying this is a new tool, I don't trust it. It's like, guys, gals, it's working. Your peers are making a lot of money on this and you're not, and your customers are getting value from it, so get on the bandwagon.
It's funny you should say that, because actually the 2 times that I've been acquired effectively by another organization, it was always interesting to see that you get acquired and literally the only people you end up talking to in sales or success or whatever all tend to be or all end up being the top performers in the company. It's super interesting because that always happens. I always end up with like, who are these people I'm talking to? And then 6 months later you realize, oh, these are the people who are the number 1 reps or like the top performing CSMs. It's interesting that those that are, I don't know, the top performers are those who are brave to embrace new products and new ideas.
Yeah. You got to put the frameworks in place to make sure everybody's safe. But yes, and you guys have heard this. Most customers want to buy more from the vendors that they have. They don't want to have to go out and onboard new vendors and put those contracts in place, especially at the enterprise and strategic level, because some of that process is beyond painful for the buyer at those companies.
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
So actually, well, so just quickly back on the AI stuff. So I know that at Silverfort, you're doing a bunch of AI. So you guys are naturally prone to getting into the AI space. And you've got that cool thing you're doing with agents and policy and around agentic work. But have you seen agentic stuff deployed in some of your peers? Have you heard of any? And I know that I think I've heard you talk about support as one area. But have you heard of? Has it moved into success at all?
It's starting to creep into it more than it was before. One of my peers who is further along, I've heard them say they've set up these different agents, but the problem they are having is what happened when they start with a help desk ticketing agent, but then they need to be thrown over to the renewals rep. They're having a hard time with that transition from one agent to another agent. And how do you figure that out?
Well, but I do wonder if it kind of makes that point of because we've been taking the stance that CSMs are kind of effectively emerging CEOs, or a lot of the role that they're doing is effectively a proxy for the CEO. But I sort of wonder if that's really why the CSM role specifically hasn't really been turned into an agentic role, because it's so pivotal. That's the one role you probably wouldn't want to automate. It's like, no, these are the people who are really doing the human work. They're really doing the collaboration internally. They're really pushing, they're really understanding the customer. You don't want an agent to do that.
Yeah.
I just wonder if that's the reason.
Yeah, Deloitte does a really good job of hosting some CCO networking panels. And one of the things they showcased in one of these meetings was the fact that some people are hesitant to embrace AI, not for security, which is what I thought they were going to say, but actually because it takes them further away from the human.
Yeah.
So
Well, that was actually interesting where you started before about kind of getting out of the way so people in Silverfort can actually reach the customer. Is it Revy who runs product?
it is. Yep.
Yeah. So, but I found that a lot in product was that you're desperately trying to speak to the customer to hear what they have to say. So yeah, it's like the last thing you'd want is to push the customer even farther away. It gets hard. It gets really hard as you grow to be able to hear the voice of the customer in a way that's impactful and meaningful. So no, it makes sense. Yeah.
And I think that's where Gong has been game changing for PMs as well, because I know a lot of our PMs will actually go in and do keyword searches in Gong and then go back and listen to those recordings. And it's been game changing, because then they'll come to us and be like, hey, I heard this customer talk about ABC. Can you set up a follow-up meeting, because I'd like to dive into these points? And the customer feels all warm and fuzzy that their voice and opinion is wanted. So it's a win-win all around.
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe the most noticeable, or thus far, from an agent or an AI perspective, to me, like the CEO of Klarna, who came out and made a gigantic statement of hundreds and hundreds of support agents were replaced by AI, and then months later said, well, we've actually brought all those support humans back. Without saying it, kind of implied that we found out that our customers still need to talk to humans, and that can be a differentiator. What are your thoughts? But then a lot of people use that and said, yes, but the future will still move more agentic, and what you may actually see is humans become an upsell. So if you want a human touch, you'll have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Any thoughts there? Have you have seen anything like that out in the wild yet?
Yeah, and that's actually similar to what we're putting in place. So for our small customers that we mentioned before, what we're going to be rolling out at the end of this quarter, early next quarter, is you have a couple different options when it comes to implementation. You can buy our expert-led onboarding service. You can have a partner do it, because we are 100% partner. We do a lot through the partners here, and that's part of our business model too, is trying to push a lot of the smaller business through our partners. Or if you don't want to spend any money on that whatsoever, you can run with our customer portal, which is that digital touch experience that I mentioned as well. So we've only done about 8 customers right now through our digital touch experience. It's new. We're A/B testing it out right now, but the feedback on it has been really good on it. I think a lot of it depends upon what is your tool, how complicated is your tool, how complicated is your customer's environment, and you just kind of have to test these things out. And it's funny because you talk about the human component of this, especially on the support side of things, Chris. And I still feel like one of the biggest things in my role, which sometimes I get my hand slapped on because I think my team thinks I'm too in the weeds, is, guys, we've been going back and forth on this support case in a while. Should we pick up the phone and maybe call the customer? And you hear the CSMs see that as well. And I don't know if I see that going away anytime soon with some of these more complex, support cases.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. So what do you think we should be talking about in terms of the CSM ecosystem? Is there anything you think that isn't being talked about enough?
I do think back to the original question around, success and the role of success. I think it's worrisome to see so many people out there looking for jobs right now. And how do leaders do a better job really instilling the value of the success team? I think I'm an old school person where I do believe people buy from who they like, and they want to like the people that they work with and are more engaged. And even if I look at, where we have our biggest upsell and cross-sell potential, it's with those strategic accounts where we're investing the most amount of time and we have those relationships in place. So I still think there's a really strong human element of this. And I think we need to get better about quantifying the cases where it makes sense to use the AI because our cost to support is too hard, obviously, for an $8,000 customer, but really showing the value that is added for $1 million customer and how that, turns into $2 million of revenue, or it turns into that person doing a great analyst review for you, which is why you're a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, which is why you're bringing in all this additional revenue, or how does it help with your brand, and really being able to quantify these things. And I might be a little bit biased because I am in success, but I think there's a huge value that you get from a really solid customer experience. And even net new revenue. It was funny, we were having a Slack conversation yesterday because we're seeing more and more customers that are referring us to prospects. And we were talking, should we pay customers for that? We usually give them swag. And, there's a lot of rules and regulations around how much you can pay customers or what you can do based on what industry they're in. But, there's a lot of value to pipeline generation from our existing customer base as well. And is anybody looking at this stuff and quantifying it?
Totally fair.
Yeah, it's great. Those are some of the least expensive pipeline you can get. So.
Totally.
Yeah.
And you all know, the upsell, cross-sell deals you get from customers are faster and usually bigger than, net new deals that come in as well, because you already have those agreements in place. So I don't know. Hashtag winning all around when done right.
Fair enough. Cool. Well, maybe we could pivot to some of the personal stuff. I do feel like, Port, at the moment, you do sound a little bit like a manic depressive. So I'm
and of course, like as we're doing this, I'm like, why is my garage blowing up? And it's my son that I love is doing something in the garage. I'm like, can you please be quiet? So,
that's all good. I'm having the same problem as well. But you're obviously going to miss your son, Davis. We should play him this recording. It's like,
yes, we should.
About you leaving.
Yeah.
But I actually think that's an interesting question. So, Chris, what advice, given you've been in tech for so long, would you tell your son to focus on, given all the changes in the industry with the AI stuff?
That's a great question. So, and I've been thinking about that a lot. And look, I think like it's kind of like I used to tell people. Well, I still tell people like career advice. It's like you have to look at like externalities of like what can you control and what can't you control. And there's just a reality about AI and the evolving job market that we can't control. So to me, it's like start stacking skills. So start thinking about, I think, I don't know that the day exists still where you can get so single threaded, at least in business, where I want to be a finance person or I want to be a product person or I want to be this. It's like, I think you have to start thinking about stacking skills. I do think you have to think about how you embed AI into everything you do, because it can be a superpower. It literally,
Totally.
we see it at Noted, right? It can literally be a superpower. So just embrace it. I watch how the schools are dealing with it, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, good luck. But I just keep telling my kids, well, embrace it and use it as much as you can. But I just kind of I started to think about stacking skills, and candidly, I think part of that may be trades. I feel I don't like. I think there's a great business idea to be had about why does college have to be about a certain path? It's like, could you not do both? Could you not be studying finance or whatever it may be, but also learning a trade and effectively again stacking skills? So maybe you go into a trade, but you're set to run that business, at some point in life. Things like that. So that's how I'm thinking about it. It's rapidly evolving. I think all of this is changing, maybe as much as I've ever seen. But that's how I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's funny, one of my sons who is going into 8th grade, we were talking about this over the weekend, he absolutely hates school. And I said, look, maybe at high school we look at a vocational school for you. Go learn a trade. Go learn electrician, or go learn how to weld, or whatever. Or he loves making, probably shouldn't say this in a recorded session, he loves making cocktails and juice in the juicer. I was like, maybe you own your own bar and because you're great with people and having conversations. I said, you don't have to go to college. Mom doesn't want you to go to college. You have to graduate from high school or some sort of degree, but there's a lot of different options.
Your son is an old soul, though. I could totally see him propping up a cocktail bar and just like whiling away the time, just getting people talking. And yeah, he is that human.
Well, Steve, I'm curious. Same question to you. I mean, how are you? You've got one who's about to be a sophomore in college, two that are probably starting to think about college and what that next step looks like. So how do you think about it?
Yeah, I don't know. I similar to you, stacking skills. I think also, obviously encouraging them to. It's actually been against. Well, my eldest is at Ohio State, and they've actually rolled out a program to become AI fluent as part of the degree program, which actually I think we're the first college in the U.S. to do that, which is awesome because what I keep hearing from my daughters who are in high school is, no, we're not allowed to use AI. We can't use AI. We were speaking with a CSM yesterday, Dipti, who was saying that during the interview, they're not allowed to use AI in the interview. And I was like, well, why not? Why can't you just use AI all over the place? Why not be the most adaptable, super-powered you? And if that means that you do better in interviews, you do well in customer engagements because you're powered by AI tools, then that's surely that's a good thing. That shows that you're embracing this latest technology to be the best person you can be in terms of supercharging yourself. So I've kind of been encouraging them to do that. And I think, but I do see it as a tool. I don't see it as a replacement. I think we see that in the engineering work we do. It noted, I think you've been saying similar at Silverfort. It's a really powerful tool, and actually learning how to wield this tool, I think, is the core skill going into this next generation. I don't think I've gone as far as on the trade stuff. I think there's still plenty of room for office workers and all that kind of, and the knowledge workers. I was struck by, there was an announcement by OpenAI where they said something along the lines of, the new GPT-5 model only hallucinates 10% of the time. It's like, well, 10% of the time is quite a bit. That's 1 in 10 where it just literally just makes something up. So that's probably, that shows you can't go completely over, because that would be, I guess you could say that maybe humans also hallucinate 10% of the time. I don't know if anybody's ever measured that. My daughters might say I hallucinate 50% of the time. But we'll see. But I think it's just lean into the tools. So I think we'll discover the new skill sets, like how do you operate as a lawyer in this new world of AI. And if I was an employer, and that's what we do now, is we want to hear people say, no, I leverage these tools. I am using the cheat code. Great, perfect. I love that, because it's so hard to get ahead now. I'd say use every tool you can. So that's my take. And so I think the careers will evolve. Things will happen. Certain jobs will shift where they were traditionally one area and now not. But I don't think there's I think certainly if you're in things like support, but I think for the office worker, I think just learn it as a tool. Get really, really good at it really fast, and you'll start to see where the opportunities lie. But I'm not an empty nest yet, so I've got another couple of years to think about this answer.
Yeah.
Ouch, low blow.
Yeah. All right, so, okay, lastly, so what are you nerding out about outside of work?
Outside of work? Definitely more health and wellness stuff. This whole aging process and aging gracefully is challenging. You know, I already have hip arthritis, and just trying to learn how can I eat better to help with that, how important moving is. I mean, I think all of us that have these office jobs sit way too long every day. That is not good for any of us. And just trying to constantly look at my Oura Ring app and see how I can reduce how many my physical age is versus what my actual age is. So, yeah.
Aging gracefully. Do you do anything gracefully? Is that like
No, it's not an innate thing to me.
Oh.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. But there's always hope, and there's room for trying to improve. So.
Yeah, we can always improve. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, cool. Well, look, thank you so much. This has been a great discussion. We certainly enjoyed it. Hopefully you had a good
Yeah,
time.
likewise. It's always good to get the gang back together.
Yeah.